Hey there, welcome back. I absolutely love the stress relief that meal planning brings. It helps my family so much to know what we're expecting to make that week. And we don't always go exactly day by day for sure what we said we were gonna do, but at least we have a plan, and having a plan is half the battle. So check out our video today and see what's cooking in our kitchen. This is one of our favorite cornbread recipes, and it came from a Dutch oven cookbook, but we love it. And I made it into muffins this time. We use polenta to give it an extra crunch, but if you don't like that crunch, you can definitely just use cornmeal for the whole thing. You mix your dry ingredients together, and then it calls for buttermilk. And if you don't have buttermilk, you can certainly make your own by adding vinegar to milk and letting it sit for a few minutes. So that's what I did. Then you're going to add your sugar and your wet ingredients in a separate bowl. Once those are combined, you'll mix the two together, making a small well in the dry ingredients to pour the wet ingredients into. These muffins are definitely worth the time of making them from scratch. They by far beat out any box mix you'll ever get. And if you don't have a silicone muffin pan, you are missing out. They are the most amazing product ever. They make making muffins so easy. You don't have to spray anything. You don't need any paper liners. They just pop right out of the muffin pan when it's done. They are awesome. So once these muffins were done, they went great with the meal I made that night, which was Lunch Lady Chili. I'm calling this Lunch Lady Chili because the recipe literally came from a lunch lady. Years ago, my mother-in-law got this recipe from our local school's lunch lady, and I've tweaked it a little bit. It's not exactly the same, but similar. I added these the bell peppers. Sorry. I added these bell peppers to it because I had them in my freezer, needed to use them up, and I thought it would be a good addition. And then I had just had canned beans. The recipe called for all pinto, but I didn't have enough pinto, and I thought my family likes kidney beans, so I went ahead and added that. And it also calls for tomato soup undiluted, but this is the tomato soup we use and have, and it's a little sweeter, so I probably would have added a little bit less sugar to it. I also added these canned chili or green chilies, and those are optional too, but I liked them. So I added my spices. It's so easy. You cook the meat up, then you add everything and just let it simmer and you're done. It's so quick and easy and so good. I did end up adding more spices because I like my food spicy or flavorful. So it turned out so good. It was so yummy, especially with these homemade cornbread muffins. The next meal we had this week was a ravioli lasagna. My kids like lasagna, but they don't like anything in it. And I do not like a boring plain lasagna with just noodles and cheese and sauce. So I thought, let's try a ravioli lasagna. At least there's that cheese-filled ravioli. I thought it would give it a little bit more texture. I don't know. I just don't like plain noodles and cheese and sauce. So here we go. I added sauce to the bottom and layered the ravioli on with cheese in between each layer. And then more sauce, more cheese, more ravioli. I did that 3 times, I believe. Now I love this Rana ravioli. It is so good. It is fresh in your deli section of your grocery store, but it is the best kind of ravioli. But you could also use a frozen ravioli. Once I did that, I covered it and I put it in the oven for about 30 minutes. And then I pulled off the top and let it broil and cook some more. I made some quick French bread to go with this, which I stuck in the oven with the ravioli the last 5 minutes or so to get it to kind of get golden on top. And I just put butter and garlic powder little bit of parsley on mine. Once the ravioli was done, I served it up and I realized I had added a little too much sauce to the pan. So next time I would probably do a little less sauce between the layers. But even that, it was fun. Even with it having too much sauce, it tasted delicious and it was a good meal, and I ate it for leftovers for a couple days too. The third meal we made this week was a chicken ramen stir fry. Now, we love fried ramen. Get rid of the nasty seasoning packet that comes with those ramen packets and make your own. It's the best. So I started by marinating the chicken in some soy sauce and salt and pepper, and then added a little bit of cornstarch to that and set it aside. Now, I had chicken breasts that were sliced thin, so all I had to do was cut them in chunks. Then you're going to make your sauce, which the recipe that I chose said this was a 30-minute meal, and it could be, I think, if you had pre-cut veggies or frozen veggies, but it took me a little longer than 30 minutes. And I adapted the sauce ingredients a little bit based on my preference and what I had available, so it's a little different than the recipe I found. It called for ground fennel. Well, the recipe didn't call for ground fennel, but one of the sauces in the recipe has ground fennel in it, so I went ahead and put that in. This is kind of the prep, what it looks like. We got the garlic and the ginger minced up, the chicken's marinating, the sauce is ready, all the veggies are prepped. But I did go ahead and add some cabbage, chopped cabbage, because I had some in my fridge too. So you take your ramen and you just soften it. You're not gonna put it in for very long. Then you take it out and put it immediately into cold water to stop the cooking. And that I set aside, and I drained the cold water, and then I added oil to keep the noodles from sticking. Then I sauteed my garlic and ginger and some onions. That's where I added the chopped cabbage. So I put all my veggies in there, and I stir-fried them up until they were tender but not overcooked, because they were going to cook a little bit more. So I did the hard veggies first and added the mushrooms later because they don't take as long to cook, and topped it with a fresh green onion. Now, once I was done with sauteing these, I actually transferred these to my wok. I didn't cook them in my wok because I have an electric oven or stovetop and just doesn't cook well. A wok doesn't cook well on it. So I just used my regular frying pan and put it in the wok later to kind of mix it all up. Woks are much bigger. So I fried up my chicken, and then I added the sauce. I did go ahead and add some more cornstarch to the sauce just to make sure this the sauce got thick enough. Then I added my cold noodles back to the pan with the vegetables and mixed those slightly. And then I was able to add my sauce and chicken to the pan. Now, I made a lot of this. I probably doubled the recipe, at least double the recipe. But we love, love, love fried ramen. And this we just served by itself, and it was delicious, and I will definitely be having this recipe again. In fact, I added it to my meal rotation. Okay, the last meal for this video is a cheesy chicken tortellini, and I did not make this, my daughter did. She was inspired by a TikTok recipe, and she is a phenomenal cook. She is such a good cook, and she always seasons everything so good. So she started by breading up the flour with some season and flour, and then she did a butter oil mixture to fry up her chicken. She added a few spices to the chicken while it was in the pan. And once that was cooked through, she pulled it off and started in with the tortellini and sauce. She added some cayenne for just a little kick, some oregano. I think she added basil in there too. So she pulled that off the pan and got ready to cook the sauce. So she made a kind of like a white sauce. She started with a butter base, sauteed some garlic in it, added a little onion powder, a little paprika, and a little bit of oregano basil. Oh, that's where she added the basil, was the sauce. And a little bit of red pepper for a little bit more of a kick. She did some green beans as well. So then she added her flour to make her roux. And instead of milk, she added chicken broth and then cream to give it that creamy sauce, flavor, texture, whatever you want to call it. The frozen tortellinis went into the pan at this point and cooked down, but you can use fresh as well. Then she grated fresh Parmesan and added it to the tortellinis and sauce. Once that was all done, she combined all the ingredients, put the tortellinis in and then the chicken. And this was so delicious. I have to tell you guys, we are definitely going to be making this again. Not everyone in my family likes tortellinis though, so that's kind of a bummer. But this was really good, very flavorful, and I really enjoyed it. I also made some hamburgers this week, and my husband made some steak. But that's not that exciting to video. So anyway, thanks for watching. It was another great week in the kitchen, and I hope to see you back here next week.